Reggie Williams, I want to ask you to break it down for us on how we can all be more resilient in these difficult times.
Hello, Ken. I appreciate you inviting me to your show, your audience. Resilience is a hard-fought plateau of survival. And one of the things that I've always pursued is truth. You can't be resilient on false premises. And so my story begins, in the year that I was born, 1954, where Thurgood Marshall brought truth to the Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board of Education, that said, I, through my own efforts through education, could achieve anything. And that has taught me resilience through pursuing truth at every level and every opportunity.
People don't know your story, but nearly 2 decades in the NFL, you are the guy that built the bubble that people hear so much about now. And you took it back to the beginning. I won't go back to your date of birth, but you were, I guess you still are, deaf.
Yes, I am hard of hearing. I used to go to Michigan School for the Deaf, and unfortunately at the time, the stigma was so negative because it was called Michigan School for the Deaf and Dumb. And so there were a lot of things I had to overcome, because if you don't hear sounds, it's impossible for you to repeat sounds. So I developed a speech impediment. And so a lot of my childhood, I was a very reserved child, which benefited me to some degree because, growing up in Flint, Michigan, it was kind of a rough neighborhood. So it was better to be reserved than to be out there talking smack,
Well, for these kids so you start off with that negative, with I assume kids teasing you and you still pursue this athletic career, and you had great success in high school, but then the next moment of resilience, you thought you were going to, or you wanted to go to the University of Michigan, where all the great Michigan kids and around the country went to school to play football for Bo Schembechler. But what was your conversation that a spoiler alert, you ended up going to Dartmouth. But what was your conversation with the coach that was another moment of resilience for you?
Well, my whole childhood was to do everything that my parents told me to do to qualify for a full academic scholarship at the University of Michigan. And the reason I was going out for football was because of the friends, the teammates, the associates that you would have. And, these were the late 60s, turbulent times. 68 was the year that Martin Luther King was assassinated. There was riots at my high school. And so football became that common ground where black and white players could be teammates and work it out. And so for me, football was nothing that I expected to play professionally. I just expected it to be an incentive to continue to compete academically. All I wanted to do was make the team, run out the tunnel in the big house. I'd have been happy, but Bo Schembechler said I wasn't good enough to my face. And it took my father, who told me that he was willing to work another job to keep both me and my brother in school, because the Ivy League does not have athletic scholarships. And so it was going to cost him a lot to send me to Dartmouth. And so I went to Dartmouth with a chip on my shoulder. And so a lot of the injuries that you're talking about, didn't occur until I went professional. I survived, my Ivy League career, without experiencing the knife. But since then, I've experienced the knife 28 times. It's been 5 knee replacements. I also awoke to a full stroke that at its severest point completely nullified movement on the right side of my body and eliminated all of my speech. And so resilience has been a consistent, mindset of confidence in oneself, a certain love of life, a willingness to absorb pain.
So just because you can't make it to the grocery store just because maybe you're working a few less hours during the week because your job has told you we don't need you as much. You're giving some examples of what it takes to make the ultimate comeback. And you go through this career, you have a 16-year career in the NFL?
14 years.
14 years in the NFL as a player, and then time as a coach, and then time in management and the like. And then you end up at Disney, as I said, and you create Disney's Wide World of Sports, where the NBA bubble is. So Reggie, I want to also thank you, and you've helped me, and I hope others hear this story the same way. When I busted up my Achilles and had to get surgery years ago, I just kind of on Facebook exchanged with Reggie, and his words were, "We're all much stronger than we believe." And as I was going through my little bit of rehab as a 55-year-old man, those words carried me through, and I thought it would be helpful for you to tell folks the kinds of things you've been through. Any final words for folks to think about in terms of being resilient in this moment?
There are going to be certain lessons that we all have in our own life, and at a certain point in time, they've really got to mean something to you. So at that point in time, when I awoke overnight after the plot busters had failed to re-deliver to me my sense of speech, I couldn't give my social security number. I couldn't give my son's number. And I'm thinking of, how am I going to escape out of this mental hell? Literally, I thought I was trapped. It was almost, like a Jordan Peele movie, and I was in that sunken place where you can't talk. It was so frustrating. And I finally did remember Invictus. And the fact that if you remember something because it means something, because you lived it, then it brought back speech. So I will close with Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced, nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you for breaking down resilience in these difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you.